Welcome back to Nutrient Academy, where we make your dreams come true. I'm Arunima ma'am, and again I'm back with the next video for Class 9 ICSE Biology Cell. Here again we'll discuss some more important questions on microscope, on the topic of cell and invention of microscope. So let's begin the video. Our first question states that, what is the significance of microscope in the history of science? So as microscope was invented, all these smaller particles, smaller to smallest particles were able to be seen by the scientists. And for their prediction and better analysis, the microscope stood a very important place in the history of science. Thus, the invention of microscope is very important, and now we could easily analyze and understand the structures of even smallest particles. Our second question states that, what did Robert Hooke observe in cod tissue and he named it cell? Robert Hooke found small empty compartments. He was reminded of cells of monastery where the monks lived. He thus named those compartments as cells. Those actually resembled the structure like a honeycomb. Moving to the next question, our third question says, what is the cell theory and who are the scientists who are involved in this cell theory? There are three scientists who led to the development of cell theory. One is Leading, one is Swan, and one is Warshau and Theodor Swan. The three of them have contributed together to form the cell theory. Cell theory has three main postulates. The first one is all living organisms are composed of one or more cells. The second one states cell is the basic unit of life, and the third one states all cells have come up from a pre-existing cell. How did the invention of electron microscope help the scientists more to understand the organisms better? Electron microscope, it uses a beam of electrons instead of beam of light. So, it has a higher amount of magnification, a greater magnification than light. So, the organisms, the cell of the organisms can be much more magnified to see and thus analyze the structural components of the organisms, of the primitive organisms. This particular technology helped to determine the minute particles such as organisms or to magnify much more. Technology revealed the finer details of a cell like a cell organelle at a very, very high magnification rate. We move on to the next question. It says, why cell theory is considered to be a very fundamental concept in biology? It is so because it provides a framework to understand the most basic level of cell and its components at a very magnified rate. It also helps us to understand the development of an organism from the basic level, that is cellular level. That is why it is the fundamental concept in biology. We have our next question, which has, who was the first scientist to study cells under a microscope and what did he study? The first scientist was Anton van Leeuwenhoek. He was the first scientist to observe cells under a microscope, and he observed protozoans bacterial cell under a microscope. How did the compound microscope differ from the microscope? It was there in the time of Anton van Leeuwenhoek, Robert Hooke, these scientists. So at that point of time, it was only using, the microscope was only having single lens. But as time evolved, microscope is now having, the compound microscope is having multiple lenses. Why? For better clarity, for better observation, for better analysis. So as we are improving the microscopes, the lenses, the magnification is getting higher and we can observe our samples much more clearly, and thus we can understand and analyze the structural components. Who contributed for the improvement of compound microscope for making them more practical for research? So the scientist who made this particular contribution is a Dutch scientist, Cornelis Drebbel, in the 17th century. He had quite innovative ideas of making different magnified lenses which helped in much more focus, which helped to focus on the organism better and also helping to magnify the organism much properly so that the organism, the cell wall, the cell components, even all the components of the cell can be seen with much more clarity, and thus we can observe it in a much more clear manner. The next question says, what are some key contributions of Matthias Slading and Theodor Swan? Matthias Slading, he contributed to the cell theory by proposing that all plant tissues are composed of cell. And Theodor Swan, he said, all animal tissues are also made up of cell. So together, their work helped in the formation of development of the cell theory. How did Rudolf Virchow completed the work of cell theory? The next question is this one. Rudolf Virchow finally said that all the cells, be it plant cell or animal cell, all the cells, they arise from some pre-existing cells through the process of cell division. So that's all for today's video. Hope you liked the video. If you like the video, do like, share, subscribe and comment section. Again, we'll meet soon in the next video. That's all for today. Bye.